you ready for a little Southern humor mixed with relevant topics we can all relate to? We're about to pull back the curtains and mix it up. Scoot your chair up. It's time to talk about all the things and ask all the questions. Welcome to Get It Together, y'all.
Hi, everybody. Oh, my gosh. We're so glad that you're here today. My name is Cindy Larson. I am your host, and this is April Potter. She's my co-host, and we are so excited to have this show today. We have each brought a guest that is our friend from days gone by. So my guest today is Anna B. Major, and
mine is Dave Fowler.
So we will promise that you're going to love these two, and you're going to feel like you are absolutely friends of these people as we are. So anyway, I am really excited to get this thing kicked off. We just told them, say whatever you want to say. Isn't that right?
That's right.
And we don't
know what that's going to be.
We don't know. And so we are really in a new studio. This is our first show to shoot in a brand new set.
Yes.
So we're kind of working the bugs out a little bit, but there are cameras everywhere, and we're not going to worry about it, and we're just going to be ourselves. We just want you to pull up a chair and hang out with us, and we're going to do a little bit of deep diving and playing around in the music business. I grew up on the road, and April, I'm still in it. Deal with it. And,
I'm knee deep in it. So.
I kind of am too, but I pick and choose. And
yes.
I do for love now what I would never do for money.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a different thing. But these two people have great stories and great history in the business. So as we do these podcasts, Get It Together, y'all, some of the shows are different kind of an umbrella. This one is the first one we've done for the road dogs. So we will come around with different road dog shows, but today I know you're going to have fun. To get this thing kicked off, we're going to do some fun facts.
Okay.
Are we ready for it? All right. So, we just like to play around. You got a fun fact?
We always learn so much.
We do learn so much.
Fun facts. I do. I'm going to read mine because I don't want to get it wrong. The British Navy, did you know? The British Navy uses Britney Spears songs to scare off pirates. I was like, what?
You've got to be kidding me.
No. I mean, surely that's true, right?
Well, surely, but Britney might get offended, or you know what?
I mean, I was like,
she might really think that's a compliment.
That's cool.
Yeah. Is she kind of out there?
Yeah. So I don't know if it's true or not, but that's my random fun fact.
She might have put that out.
Maybe
she might have floated that.
Is that a publicity stunt?
You tell me. What do you think would happen if? Would pirates? Do pirates even speak English? I know Jack Black does.
I don't know. I haven't really hung out with him lately.
Like, how would that work? Is it just the sound of her or the lyric or itself?
I'm not sure.
You're supposed to know. You're supposed to know.
I haven't hung out with pirates lately, so just saying. I've been a little busy, okay?
I only know what their favorite letter is.
What?
R.
Okay, that's good.
Funny.
That's a fun fact. I'm going to write that one down. You got a fun fact?
Do you know that it is impossible to hum while you're holding your nose?
No way.
I knew you would try
We're
it.
going to try it.
I can't.
I knew somebody was going to try it.
Everybody listening is trying it. Are you kidding me?
I want to try it. Don't we want to try it?
Well, sure.
You can't do it.
Can't be done.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that funny?
I'm writing that down.
That's funny, right?
You cannot do it. So, y'all, I may be dating myself, but I don't know. I may just be talking to like two people in the audience on this fun fact. But Francis Scott Scott Key, you know,
Yes.
wrote the Star Spangled Banner. Bridge just got hit, right? Did you know that DeGarmo and Key, the Dana Key from DeGarmo and Key, is related to Francis Scott Key?
No, I did not know that.
I did not know
Do
that
you
either.
know who DeGarmo and Key is? See, you do. Do you know? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So we're limited. I've just dated myself. But in the audience, you know, there will be some DeGarmo and Key people that understand that that's pretty cool, like a direct descendant.
Wow.
I heard that and I'm like, well, that needs to be double checked. But it's true.
Wow,
So
interesting.
anyway, did you know he died? Dana Key? He died in
not.
2011. Yeah, you don't even know who he is. It was a big band. It was like wasn't it like a Christian rock
A
band?
Christian band. Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure were.
Man, okay, I got another one. Okay, people are more creative in the shower. Did you know that? That the water, the oxygen or whatever
Now I do believe that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I get my ideas in the
helps your
shower.
helps
You don't
your
need to think when
dopamine.
you're washing. Like it's a automated process.
Well, but it
almost.
makes the water, breathing the water, it increases dopamine.
Really
Yes.
Wow.
So that's why you have genius ideas in the shower.
why I don't want to
and
get out.
You don't want to get out. You know, we want to go to the beach and we just like we're swimming in the beach and we just feel so. It's that dopamine.
Created and connected.
I know. Anybody got anything on that?
Did you know if you put sunscreen on and listened to the Beach Boys, you will think you're at the beach?
Is that a proven fact?
I don't know, but it's fun.
I know.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
My,
You know?
It's actually my sister's combat to seasonal depression.
Wow.
Really?
She'll do it all winter.
Wow. I want to try that.
Okay, here's a fact, a fun fact. People who have insomnia, if you go and I don't do tanning beds, I have no pigment. I do not have pigment in my skin, like I'm just so fair. But people who have insomnia are helped by going to a tanning bed during the winter, especially like right at noon, and it resets your clock.
Interesting.
Yes.
Just for 5 minutes at noon. If you do it for a few days, it will reset your clock and you can sleep better at night.
I have heard
Love it.
that. I have heard that.
That is a fact.
Have you tried it yet?
I have not.
No,
Okay.
but I'm a believer.
Yeah.
So if something sounds, like
Yeah.
I'll go with it. I will swear it's true until like
Wait,
you
without
can.
trying it?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I don't mind being wrong.
I like that.
So it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. So I will just say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't
My
right.
bad.
I'll try not to say that next time. But I might just be, because then once you've said it, it's like I've always said. Then, when you say, I've heard that when you quote somebody, the first time you quote them, you're supposed to say, oh, so-and-so said. And then the second time you say that, if you ever say it again, you can say, I've heard it said. And then by the third time you say it, you're able to say, I always say. So you got to stick with it.
She's looked the rules
Stick
up on
with-
this.
Listen,
Yeah, she has.
yes, this
You're
is
very wise.
this is good for public speakers.
Yes.
Like I'm a coach. I'm not, but I could be. I think that there's wisdom in that.
Yeah.
Because by the time you've said it enough, it becomes part of your core.
Who you are.
Yeah. And and people that might have heard you, it's just like I've always said, but it's got to be give them credit, and then I've heard it said, and then I always say, yeah, just so you know. So anyway, I got another one. Did you know that the longest? So I'm not a walker. No, that's a shock. But the longest distance in the world, you can walk 14,000 miles walking from Magadan, Russia to Cape Town, South Africa. Who would ever want to do that? But you could do it. And if you can walk it, maybe you could drive it. I don't know. Maybe not. But
If you can walk it, they have to have bridges for cars to go over.
I don't know. There might be a terrain.
Or do you have to
Yeah,
swim
maybe
at
it's
one
a different
point?
terrain.
No, walking. Walking's different from swimming.
Swimming, yeah.
Annabee, that's,
Yeah,
you know, get with me. This is not like the triathlon.
Are they walking on water
Well,
to get across?
you know what? I didn't ask.
She didn't ask.
Oh, man. Do we have any more? I want to switch gears. And so another thing we do here is we have Southern mothers. Do you have a Southern mother?
Oh, absolutely.
You have a Southern mother? You have a Southern mother?
I mean, we said my name.
We already said your name. So we have a Southern mother moment. So we like to just have our guests, you know, think back on, you know, something your mother has said and kind of known for or whatever. And I've got one, but you can. What was your mother like? Where was she from?
Both my parents were from Western North Carolina. My grandparents were tobacco farmers, which was very common for that area. So my mom's really unique.
Near the Appalachian?
Over near Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom's stories, April knows my mom's story is unbelievably unique. My mother, when she was 13 years old, ironically, it happened on Mother's Day. And please forgive me, I can't recall the exact year because I obviously wasn't born yet. So, but when she was 13 years old, she went home with her girlfriend after a church service, and her little brother was playing with a shotgun, and she shot my mother. He shot my mother at close range, and not to be graphic, but it literally just about blew my mother in half.
Oh, man.
She as she was jumping out of the way off the porch, as the little boy was only 5.
Wow.
He knew just enough to climb up on the bed and pull the gun from the gun rack. He was just playing. He didn't have he wasn't malicious intent.
Yeah.
He just knew enough about the shotgun to pull the hammer back.
And it was loaded.
It
so
was, farmers in the mountains
farmers
would keep their guns loaded in
yeah.
case something gets after the chickens at night. They go scare it off, you know.
Yeah.
But
wild boars and stuff.
She died 4 times. She was so far in the mountains they had to put her on a logging truck. Halfway out of the mountains, transferred her to a station wagon, stopped at a little church and prayed over her, transferred her to a station wagon into Marshall, North Carolina, to the only place that had an ambulance was the funeral home. Oh, wow. So they put her in the ambulance at the funeral home and drove her another 25 miles to Asheville before she got an ounce of medical
And
attention.
she did not bleed out. Wow.
I don't know. It
Somebody
was,
might have, you know, being in the farm, they might have known how to wrap her and.
Well, they didn't. They didn't have any
Wow.
knowledge. She just was determined she was not going to die. I mean, and
so let me get this straight. She then conceived and had a baby. Four
Now,
babies.
where did she get shot?
Where?
Yeah.
It got her all through here, and her left arm. She's never had but one good arm her entire life.
So stomach.
Since that, you know, it's her
Abdomen.
stomach,
Is it like
abdomen.
a
She
buckshot,
still
a shotgun?
she still has pellets in her. So that she's still alive. She'll be 84 in July.
Is that right?
And she would be she'd be somebody good to have on your
Yes, she
Mother's Day
would.
show
Wow.
to tell that story.
What's her name?
Polly
Polly.
Fowler.
Love it.
Now,
Yeah,
when she
she's-
goes to the airport, does she make the metal detectors go
My
off?
mother doesn't go to the airport.
She's like,
She's
a
been on
solid
one.
question.
I'm not playing.
It is. That's a good question.
I'm
But
not
she's
flying.
been on one flight her entire life, and it was way before 9/11.
Okay.
So there was no that kind of security. You just go
Oh, no.
get your ticket
Yeah.
and get on. You know. But yeah,
But she is a little Southern mother.
But yeah, she
Wow.
is. She can still cook and clean and does all that stuff. You know, she's pretty amazing. You'd have to. There's just not enough time for me to tell the
Yeah.
entire thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's very involved. But she's one of the most.
Give me something that she says that will always be with you. Like just one of those things in your core.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Probably just random Bible verses because
Yeah.
she's the most godly
Yeah.
woman.
I love that.
So how old would she have been at that time? You don't know.
She was 13 when
She
she
was
was
13
shot.
when she was shot. So she did all of her dating and everything after that.
She met my dad.
But they told her she
Wow.
wouldn't have any children.
Yeah,
And
that's-
obviously,
Wow.
Well, the doctors told my grandparents she wouldn't live through the night.
Wow.
They said if she does, she'll never be able to have children.
I can just imagine, somebody with that kind of a story. She'd be like, I choose you. And, there nobody talks back to me. Like,
Yeah.
this, I'm in charge for the rest of my life. I'm in charge. Did she ever feel bad toward her little brother? I mean, he was just
Well,
5.
No, she never harbored any resentment. The families
She
never
wasn't mean
had
to
any of
him
that
or-
between them. Never.
it was her friend's little brother.
What? It wasn't
Yeah.
even her own little brother?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Man.
Yeah.
I bet the friend suffered, like, thinking what,
It was very
What
traumatic for
The
all
guilt.
of them.
All of them. Yeah.
And, but she got through it.
Wow.
She just that's been her whole mantra her
Yeah.
entire life is you just whatever comes up,
Yeah.
you just get through it.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you though, these Southern mothers have some tenacity.
Tough.
They are like,
man.
I am not giving up. I don't care what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Yeah.
So
Annabelle, what about I happen to know your mother.
Hmm.
Do you have so I have my own stories about your mama, but
Ooh,
she's-
wait, I want to hear those.
I mean,
Yes.
just my she has an image. I don't care how old she is and gets, she'll live to be an old lady, Lord willing, but she's frozen in time with me with her long blonde hair and either wearing pink or purple.
Yep.
She's a pink or
is still
purple
her.
person. She's the first person that I ever really knew that just was really true to that. Like, it is her. It really is her. Like,
And the last couple of years, she's actually been trying different colors,
Okay.
but no, she still goes back to
Yeah.
those all the time.
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. She's so solid. She's so secure in it.
Yeah.
You know, she just who would
And
dare?
she looks great.
Oh, she looks fantastic. What takeaway? What Mama's saying? Do you quote in your life? Because you don't live at home anymore.
No, I don't.
No.
But I did move like a mile away from them now. I
Oh.
moved back home. not,
Okay. Yeah.
close to them.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably the sayings that she said growing up that stick to me now is when I left the house, she'd always say, make smart choices and listen to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And those two things, like I'll say them to my friends when they leave my
Yeah.
house.
can't go wrong with
And I'm
either
just
one of
like,
those.
make smart
That's-
choices.
Yes.
Listen to the Holy Spirit. And my sister and I have some crude ones too, but we'll add those.
The sister that I know.
Yes,
Yeah.
Raylan.
So tell everybody who your sister is.
Raylan Nelson.
Yeah.
So my mom was a radio show girl back in the day here in Nashville, born and raised.
So radio show girl. What do you mean? What did she?
Like
She was an
was-
on-air personality. Or?
she wasn't. I don't think she was on air, but she worked at the radio
Okay.
and was a beautiful lady there.
Yes.
And Papa Willie and Billy came through the radio to do an interview, radio station to do an interview back in the 80s, 1980s.
Willie. That would be
Willie
Willie
Nelson.
Nelson. So we have
And-
to explain all that.
Yeah. Okay. Willie Nelson and his first son, Billy Nelson. Well, Willie Nelson Jr.
Yeah.
And they came through to do an interview, and my mom was there, and she's beautiful, long blonde hair, blue
Yeah.
eyes, and obviously fell in love, had a beautiful romance, got married, had my sister. I'm sure she did some fun country things that I don't know about still to this day.
Because she is a Southern lady, and Southern
She's-
ladies don't tell everything.
And she ended up just raising Raylan and had her own hair salon here in Nashville and had that life for a long time. until he unfortunately passed away in 91. And my mom remarried my dad, who had Jeremiah and me.
Yeah.
So I've always had Raylan, obviously, as my sister my whole life. I've only known her as my sister. But being connected to that family, going back and forth, and smoking a lot of weed.
Oh, yeah, you've been around it, haven't you?
Yes.
And then you, what role have you played in her career? Because she's got a career.
So growing up, obviously I was her favorite.
Yes.
So I was a little roadie for her for a long time. Did obviously like merch, roadie things, side table. I was her scout, was my nickname.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Help book shows, help do anything and everything, honestly, that they needed on the road. I was scout for a while because I would sleep on the couch or on the floor where we stayed.
Yeah.
Used to make hair feathers and sell them and put them on so many fans.
Oh.
It was like one of the top sellers besides the CDs.
Yeah.
Because the good old physicals. But that was probably the stint of my most touring was with Raylan.
Yeah.
And then I joined the other side of the business.
Yeah.
And got an office and worked at a label for a while. And then after the label, I started working in a music business consulting firm. Mm-hmm. And we also do artist management there.
Very cool.
I got
and
off
that's
the
what you do
road.
now.
Yeah. I got
Very
off the
cool.
road. I needed some stability in my life.
No kidding. There's not stability on the road.
No.
What? We didn't see that coming, did we?
Dave.
Well, I want to ask Dave. I want to tell a quick Southern mother thing, and then do you have one today too?
Well, mine is sort of. My mom just saw a picture of me recently, and you know we've talked about her on other shows, and she's just the sweetest little Southern belle. Would never hurt anybody's feelings at all, and she's like, you look really pretty in your picture. I really liked your hair and your outfit, but Mom has one little suggestion for you.
Oh no!
I'm like,
Okay, time out. Does your mother, because my grandmother did this, speak of herself in third person?
yes.
Okay, because my grandma would say, Grandma was wondering if,
Yes.
Why don't you just say, I was wondering? She was
Yes.
third person herself all the time, so.
So, I mean, if you'll notice, I have on darker lipstick today.
Oh.
She was like, I can't see your lips. I think you were wearing none, or like it was way too light. You need some darker for your complexion.
Oh, that's
I said,
so cute.
Thanks, Mom.
I think what triggered me there was the whole "I suggest," which is what my mother would say.
Yeah.
I suggest
I got
you
you,
do
Mom.
this.
I said, I will wear it for you. I don't usually wear darker, but I will try it for you.
Oh, that's so funny. My grandmother was such a good she did hacks before hacks were a thing. And so she passed down these hacks, and she'd say, if you're running a little late and you don't have dinner on the stove, now this was, back when that always happened. That's back then. But she would say, go ahead and set the table and put on some water on the boiling water. And she said, when your husband gets home, he'll think that he's just a little early and that dinner's on the way. She said, or if your house is a mess and you did not, get to picking anything up today, set the vacuum cleaner out in the middle of the room, like, I was just fixing to get to this. And then it kind of takes away. One time when my husband used to be on the road all the time, when my family went off the road, he started driving buses, and one year he was gone 320 days.
Wow.
So he was rarely home, and that's back when he had a bag cell phone.
Yes.
It's like you did not have good communication. So 320 days was crazy. And so I decided I would do things. I would plan projects. And what I was terrible at was, getting them getting them completed enough by the time he was going to get home, because it was so seldom. And one time he came home, he had been out with Michael Bolton or somebody. That was back when Michael was the biggest thing happening, and he came home, and I felt like Lucille Ball. I was up on a ladder, I had paint on my nose, and my hair was all wrapped up, and the whole downstairs, we had a split level house, and the whole downstairs paneling had been painted with the first coat of kilts, and it looked terrible because you could still see
Through it.
But I was so excited that I was gonna do this big project, but all the furniture was covered with sheets and all the kilts was around, and I am standing there with a brush in my hand, and he walks in the kitchen and drops his bags right where he stood, and I'm like, "You're home," and he just said one word. He said, "Why?" He's looking around, and he just said, "Why?" And I started crying, and it was so Lucille Ball, and I said, "Because you weren't here to tell me no." He didn't say any more about that. But then I learned not to do big projects I couldn't finish. By the time I knocked walls out, I did all kinds of stuff, but I would time that. When he'd pull out, I'd have stuff to do. So anyway, I made the best of it. And people would say, "Don't you get lonely?" And I'll go, I get lonely, but I don't get curious. There's a difference. So we didn't have excuse, I didn't make that an excuse to run my own show, but I learned how, and I also learned when he was out on the road to go eat all the places I wanted to eat, go be as busy as I could be, because when he came off the road, he wanted to be in that lazy boy. He wanted to be home, home, home. At first, I would be like, he'd call me from a truck stop, or, they used to have phone booths in the truck stop.
Yeah.
That was it.
You didn't know this, but you would sit in a truck stop table, and there'd be a phone right here, and he'd say, "Well, I almost ordered the hamburger, but man, that chicken fried steak just went by, and that looked really good." And I'm just like listening to all this and going, "Well, I'm hungry." And then he'd go, "You can't believe what a club sandwich costs at a Ritz-Carlton." I'm going, "I want to go to a Ritz-Carlton and see about that." And then he'd come home, and so anyway, I picked up on that, so I just started being so busy. Oh man, was just exhausted. By the time he came home, I was ready to be home too. But anyway, my Southern mother was hilarious. But I want to hear your road stories. Like, what in the world?
Oh,
You need to
Lord.
talk about you were a bass player, right?
I am. Mhm.
You are still. What do you do now? And then claw back if you want.
Well, I've had such a blessed, varied career. I've played with so many wonderful people. Just up until February of this year, I was with the Artemis Pyle Band. He's the last surviving member of Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
So I did that for the last 6 years. I think I joined them in 2016. So maybe 8 years I was there.
Yeah.
It all runs together after a while. April will tell you my dates and things. But I've had the great fortune of playing with so many wonderful people. I got really good when I moved here at sight reading charts,
Yeah.
which you have to be able to do here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you have to be able to, I got known that call Dave because he can, and if
Yeah.
I had a live recording of the show, I can verbatim chart it out
Yeah.
and show up with no rehearsal
Yeah.
and
Nice.
play it,
Yes.
A bass man's favorite chart is 1111.
It's mine. But I moved here just being I grew up real poor. My dad was a blue collar worker, and my mom could have claimed disability, but she never did. She was a housewife and a mother, and I don't ever remember not having home cooked meals. So I grew up real poor, but for a farm boy that came here with a high school education, I've played with everybody I've ever heard on the radio, and I've been so.
Can you name
lucky.
some of them? Because people are just going to be curious.
Well, I mean, the one I really learned to play bass with, other than Southern gospel music, I learned to play greatly from the Hemp Hills and the Hensons.
Yeah.
Were probably my two favorite Southern gospel groups, and the Hopper Brothers and Connie I always liked.
Yeah.
But I learned to play from the Ronnie Millsap live record from the Opry when he had that band with Dickie Overby
Oh, yeah.
and Johnny Cobb and Steve Holt
Yeah.
and
God, you've
Jack
been here
Watkins.
for a while.
Yeah, I've been here for almost 40 years. So I learned to play bass with that record. Little did I know, years and years later, I would do pickup gigs with Ronnie and
Yeah.
get to play all those great hits.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
but Lord, I mean, you know, I started
Lori
with
Morgan, right?
Lori Morgan for 7
Okay,
years.
time out. We used to live in Hendersonville on the lake, and just like a few houses away from Lori, and what's his name? Sammy
Kershaw.
Kershaw. And the first few neighborhood, kind of meetings, we'd have to all go to neighborhood meetings, and the big buzz was if Sammy was going to be packing heat, because he packed heat in it, and he was a little hot, and so they would be like, be really, these prim and proper people that lived on the lake, and they're like going, be really careful, because Sammy carries heat. And then when they moved out, one of the nosy neighbors, she was a real estate agent, and she said, I don't know how they're going to sell that house. That teenager of theirs put a dart in the ceiling, and he'd lay in his bed and shoot that ceiling up. And it's like, I don't know how big gossip. So anyway, they moved out not long after we moved in. Maybe we had something to do with that. I don't know.
I was actually the guy that got the phone call when Keith died.
Really?
I was in her book. She and I were out doing some stuff for her forthcoming RCA record, Leave the Light On, which was her first release. And we were in Tacoma, Washington, and having lunch with some Air Force guys, getting ready later that evening to fly to Alaska. We're doing, I don't know why we were doing Department of Defense stuff,
Okay.
but it's something RCA set up for her.
Yeah.
And so, as you pointed out earlier, we didn't have cell phones then.
Right.
So it was not uncommon for Jack McFadden to track me down on the road. So,
Yeah.
they came and got me, said, you have a phone call we were in the mess hall or the cafeteria, if you will. And so I went, took the call, and it was Jack, and he was just a wreck. He said, I'll never forget it. He said, Dave, my boy, Keith is dead, just like that. And, he said, and I said, I ain't telling her.
Yeah.
I'm not telling her, Jack. He goes, no, son. He said, you go get her the phone. I'll tell her.
Yeah.
And I must have been white as a sheet, because when I went to get her, I got close to the table, and I was just motioning for her to come. She got about as from here to Anna to me, and she just stopped and looked at me, and she said, Keith's dead, isn't he? Just like that. And
How did it happen? Do you mind saying?
Keith's death? Well, it's no secret. He had chemical addiction,
Yeah.
just demons that he could not
Yeah.
control, which ironically my hat stands for demons behind me. That's what
Wow.
that's for.
Ah,
That's what it means. Yeah. So, but he just had, bless his heart, but he was the sweetest.
Yeah.
Because I was going to be spending a lot of time with Lori. He specifically asked to have some one-on time with me.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get to know me a
Right.
little
Yeah.
bit. I don't even know if I've told you this stuff, April, but I spent some very quality time with Keith Whitley, and just loved him. And Lori had said, he's got some problems, and because I was going to be on the inside, so I had to
Right.
know.
Right.
But after I spent some time with him, and I was like, honestly, and she wouldn't mind that I said this, I was just like, she's just being a nagging wife. This guy's fine. But he wasn't fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he hid it so well, and he just had things he couldn't control.
Yeah.
So it was,
So
but
many
it
of us
was,
deal with that.
it was alcohol and drugs. It's
I recently saw a TikTok of a guy, and I was going to scroll past it because I'm like, why is this showing up on my For You feed? And but then I kept watching, and he was talking about signs when somebody is going to they planned their exit. And I'm like, how can you tell? He said, there are signs to look for, and I'm like, you're just kind of just trying to get, views or whatever. But then he said, my wife and my father have both chosen that path. And he said it's really, looking back, there are things to pick up on. And one of the things he said was that they can go from being really depressed to really euphoric because they've figured it out, they think. And one of the things that it kind of reminded me of that when you were talking, they feel like, okay, my family member is going to be better off without me, and they start seeing them go on without this, them, the problem, and they start, doing things like, I need to meet you. I need to, I need to know that you're going to take care of her or whatever in his way. And he may not have consciously been thinking that at all, but I just thought, you know what, I'm going to take time. If I see somebody that has been really down and then they switch it, he said what to do is, calm, sit down with them calmly and say, what's behind, I'm really glad you're better. I'm glad we're talking, but what can we, tell me more, like get them to kind of just start feeling comfortable to open up. And I thought, man, I'm going to try to learn something here, because we all have known people that, whether they intended to or didn't mean to, one of the most moving experiences was Mark and I, and he was, invited. We were invited because Mark was a close friend of and a business associate with Toby. I mean, help me. I need the Toby Mac. Yeah.
Oh, his son.
And so his son.
Yeah.
And it was right after our friend had lost. It was right around the same time. And that funeral really changed my life, and just in a lot of ways. So it's very impactful. And it doesn't feel like when you're talking about it, it feels like it just happened. It's so
funny
hard to,
that you said it the way you said it, because Lori, to this day, if I go sub with her, she will tell the story that Cal Keith kind of handpicked me.
Yeah.
And he told her, and it rung the bell with me when you just said it the way you said it. He told her, hang on to Dave. He's your guy.
Yeah. They kind of make plans and they feel better. Do you have a similar?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. Clay, he always made sure that I knew that I could talk to his mother.
Yeah.
And to have a relationship with her. And he's like, you can have a relationship with her without me. Mm-hmm. He's like, y'all need to be connected. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck with me. And we very much have a very strong connection.
Yeah.
After that.
Every time I see a cardinal.
Yeah.
And I have a cardinal that lives in a tree next to my office window. And I would just always think, hi, Clay. You know? But there is something that you just never... And I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. So I believe absolutely that there are people that are sick and God's just saying, come on, baby.
Yeah.
I got you. And so you have a hard time. I remember being at that funeral of Toby Mac and his wife. She just said, people will say to me that your son is in heaven. And she said, when I hear people say that, I say, well, you must be a believer in Jesus Christ, because no other major religion in the world would have kept him. He would have been kicked out of, he wouldn't have, stayed a Muslim, a Buddhist. She had all of the major religions of the world. But she said every time that he would mess up, and he did all the time, but then he would drop everything and just he loved Jesus, and Jesus was always loving on him.
Yeah.
And he was always right there, and so we might think that we have it figured out, but I kind of think that we don't, and we're not supposed to, because it makes my heart hurt when I feel like people are being, absolute, and they know that they know, and I just think we haven't had enough conversations. We're not God, right? And we need to be able to love our friends and family who have been hurt and still hurt. It's as if it just happened. And when we talk about Clay, or when you talk about, it's painful.
Grief isn't linear.
No,
Anyway.
no. But man, we serve a God that is so full of peace and love, and we get it all messed up, don't we?
Yeah.
Because we got a box.
For sure.
We got a box. We figured out the box, and that's where we went there.
I'm
But
going to
that's
take it back
fine.
fine.
Do it.
So I know being on the road, you have to have some funny stories. I mean, what has happened?
Well,
Are you allowed to say? Because
yeah.
I tell
I
you,
mean,
this-
well,
I can tell you that sometimes it's
Well, the funniest thing that probably happened was probably with Lori in the early time. Right when she was really starting to blow up, we were playing in a club in Oklahoma. And I've never been a real boot guy, cowboy boot
Yeah.
guy, Western boot, if you will. But I bought some new boots. And the entire drum riser that night was carpet. So you can see where I'm headed with this. So
disaster
I like to have fun on stage and run around and smile and get people involved.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just what I've, for what I lack in playing skills, I probably get hired a lot because of my joy. I have a lot of joy when I play.
Yeah.
So I was having fun that night, and I didn't think anything about it. I went and jumped up on the drum riser, and I fell for 30 minutes. Tore half the drum kit down, but somehow with my left hand, I kept playing.
the
I
drummer
can't-
didn't.
Beat.
The drummer didn't.
And I thought Lori was going to die. She laughed. We
It's
had
like, what do you
so
do?
many.
You just have to keep rolling. I mean,
The show.
Yeah,
And
to
you
laugh
can't
at
just
yourself.
kick boots off. You
No.
can't. You
No.
can't just they're.
It was like jumping on a sheet of ice.
You
They
have
were
to have
that
a
slick.
boot. Do you have a boot horn?
I don't wear boots anymore.
Okay.
You see
He's
what
like,
I got
I'm
on?
done.
That's
Three
enough.
show and I'm out.
That's it. I
That's
just
funny.
don't
Now.
wear
Those
them
are good
anymore, but-
looking cars.
Well, thank you. I've got a lot of funny stories, but that's the one that always comes to mind when somebody asks, because it was such a funny moment, and she was just, it was just elbow to elbow in that place. You could not walk in it. Just
Yeah.
a hot, sweaty club in
Yeah.
Oklahoma, and it's there was probably, no lie, there's probably 600 to 800 people in a 500 seat club just jammed in there.
Wow.
So Lori had maybe it was his restaurant, but that hotchicken.com.
I was long gone after when she got into
They were
that.
okay. That's just not far from where our studio is from here. I don't know if you realize that, but we are probably a mile from where that hotchicken.com, and that was before Hot Chicken. Princess Chicken was the only thing.
That's
I
the
think-
era I used to go because I was the road manager
Yeah.
and the bass player. So she'd call me when we were leaving town. Go by Princess.
Yeah.
Get me the
Yeah.
devil on a
Yeah.
plate. That's what I
Original
called
hot
it.
Yes,
chicken.
yes.
You
That
couldn't
was the
even
original-
eat it. It was so hot.
And I think that Sammy hired their chef away from them
May have.
and ran this hotchicken.com restaurant. And man, that was like they were so before their time with that. Just miss it. Now it's a good Mexican restaurant. It's been a Mexican restaurant forever, and So we may have to go. But that's where it used to be.
Wow.
Yeah. Right about a mile from here. Oh my gosh. You probably have traveled in vans and buses and all sorts of
Yes.
crazy with
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know if I have that many funny stories, more like traumatic
traumatic
stories.
stories. You need to
Stressful
lay down on
stories.
that couch and talk about it.
Thinking about it. I was running through in my head, and I'm like, I don't know if that's really even good to talk about.
I know, but some of this would be reality TV, but
Yeah. Oh,
people
yeah.
wouldn't believe it. But it's okay.
That's what I say. I'm like, where's the camera crews when all this happens?
And you know what?
Nobody sees that.
tell what you're still in the music business. You manage people, and what do? You need to kind of brag on that too. Everybody's bio stuff's going to be on our website, so you can get a hold of these people and right?
Well, I started in booking
Yeah.
for
Okay.
probably 20 years or so, and then I got into artist management.
Yeah.
And then kind of got into social media manager, and it's just kind of went from there. So a lot of different things. Kind of like Dave, I've done a lot of different things in the music industry.
Well, she's been a godsend for me because
Yeah.
I'm 60 years old, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't even want to do it anymore. It's
Yeah.
it's as Kent, my buddy Kent, who produces Dollar.
I'm 60.
We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
It's the social media thing, and as you probably well know, it's the thing you can never touch bottom on.
No,
Right.
it's
You can
always
work
changing.
it 24/7,
Yeah.
Right.
365 days a year, and you're never going to get because there's always something else to do.
Yes.
In either Instagram or Facebook
Yeah.
or
TikTok
TikTok or whatever all the formats are. I mean, I'm just on Instagram and Facebook, and I can't even. It's driving me crazy. And as I thank God for April because it's just I'll be like, April, can you post this?
I mean, we're constantly telling our artists they have to post and post and post. And like, and obviously, most of them have teams now, and we have teams that we like deploy a whole
It takes a team.
plan.
Well,
but like the artists still have to do the content.
Well, I
Correct.
said, give me something. Give me a picture. I can make up a story with it, but you got to give me
Yeah.
something to work with.
It is
you know?
up to the
But
artist.
I mean, you got to follow the trends too. Like
Yeah.
even with TikTok, you have to look up. Like there's a website you
What's
look up
trending.
TikToktrends.com
Yes. I just
and you
did
can
that
look at the
today.
hashtags and like
So.
right now is a sped up versions of your songs. So we just had our artists record sped up version of the
Yes.
songs for TikTok just to be able to get more streams. For
Yeah.
And then each social media outlet is different.
yes.
And there's different dynamics. And
YouTube shorts
Yes.
too.
So it's like you feel like you just master and learn one thing, and then it's like
Different
oh,
links.
What is this?
Like different links for different.
Okay, so since I'm an old man, can you explain that to me? A sped up version, is that like what that?
It's a song just
it
sped
would-
up tempo.
So it'd be like me playing a record on 78.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. I
So
understand
I
you.
can understand that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know. I was like, a sped up version. What is she talking about?
And then it's like you learn a rule, the at followers thing that come out, and everybody's like, oh, this is cool. It's kind of going to highlight or at highlight. And then everybody got mad, and they're like, I'm going to I saw so many posts. If I get one more tag in that, I'm going to unfollow them or whatever. So then you had to go back and go, okay, just kidding. That's not what we're going to do anymore. And that was, I feel like that was like a month, And I mean, you have to stay on it though, because
Yeah.
that was like a month. I mean, it's like, do
Absolutely.
this. And then they're like, oh no, everybody's leaving. Don't do this. So I think it's ever
Well,
changing.
and all the different social media apps, they have different things that feed their algorithm. So whatever
Yes.
whatever they want you to do at that current time, they'll reward the artist by putting them into
Yes.
the algorithm more. So like for instance, right now on TikTok, you have to be going live. And if you're going live, then you'll land on the For You page.
Yeah.
And like that
Now, will
sucks
they
for
let
the
you
artist
go-
that doesn't do it.
Can you go live if you don't have enough followers? Do you have to have enough followers to go live?
I think you have to have
So-
1,000.
Yeah, I think it's 1,000.
It's like all of the rules are
That's
changing
true.
every day.
Yeah, exactly. Like they change
I
it up.
truly
so you
have to
really,
stay on top of
It's
it.
like you can't beat the game because the beat is evolving.
Or even the way you
consistently.
post things. Like I feel like Facebook in particular is always changing. Like you're like, oh, this is the format. This is where you go to do this, and I've got it, just set in stone. And then it's like, oh, where'd that button go? Can't do it like that no more.
Well, and
Now
have you
we
heard Instagram is the new Facebook, where
Yes.
the older generation has engaged into Instagram? So now that's new Facebook, which is why we have TikTok and Snapchat. And Snapchat is being very, very underused right now for artists reaching their fans and not using public posting. So that's one thing I'm harping on my artists about too.
I think artists are creative, and I'm like, come on, guys, you got content. And they're like, I don't know what to
we
post.
don't know what to do.
And I'm like, let me tell you something. Go make this up. Go
I have a whole list of suggestions.
Yes. We recently, there was a situation, I'm not going to name artists because I just don't feel like that's the point, but somebody somebody had kind of made a fool of themselves, and they were asking some other people to comment on it, and the person who I was reading the comment was just this big long answer on X, Twitter, whatever, and it was like, this paragraph was like in support of the artist, and then this other next paragraph was like taken. I said, what happened was the artist's manager got in there, was making it kind of like inserting, so it was like two people because it was very skits. So anyway, I was just like, what? This person's being managed, but they got in some of their jabs, but then it would be like softened out, and then just like, and then so it was a seesaw, and I'm like, there's two people writing this.
What a strategy.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But it takes it. It, like you said, it takes so many people.
But with AI, we don't know who's writing and who's.
I mean, he could have even just told AI to do that for him.
Right. Wow, it didn't flow. I'll just say it didn't flow. So anyway, it is. What would you say? So, if we leave people that, if we've got somebody here that is like super talented and they go, man, I just don't know how to break into Nashville. We used to have Opryland. People would come in, kind of get a job at Opryland and kind of but now we don't have that. And
You used to have a lot of courtesy too. You used to be able to go down to Music Row and knock on a door and get to anybody.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck now, right?
No.
That's how it was when I came here, though. You could go down there, and I had many meetings with Mark Wright when he was over DECA and MCA, and I just called down there and say, "Hey, man, I got somebody I want you to look at." Okay.
Yeah.
But
Come in,
honestly,
see me next
Music Row
Tuesday.
isn't even Music Row anymore.
It's not.
Like hair
You're
salons,
absolutely
and
right.
Lawyers
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of real estate people.
Yeah.
It's not. You
Not
can't
music.
really walk down next door and talk to your buddy at this place anymore. You used to be able to do that. Now it's so much different. It was the people that were feeding the workers, and now it's just a whole mixture that now we've got studios, management in Berry Hill, and then you've got them in East Nashville, and then you've got them still some in Music Row area, obviously. There's big ones there, but we're all over the place now. You can't just go straight to Music Row.
I live right off Music Row, and I still see people walking, on what's not even sidewalk with a guitar, and I just think, well, you're cute, but nobody's gonna let you in.
The music industry has changed so much over the years, because even in booking, when I first started booking, it was like we were basically managing the incoming calls, and we were negotiating the contracts. We were not making outgoing calls at all. Like we were just taking in what was coming in, and over the course of the years, that changed and flipped, I think, in all
that's odd to
genres.
me. That's odd to hear that.
Yeah,
That doesn't
because it is
stick
true,
with me.
and it's like we have to call out now. I mean,
Yeah.
you just know you've got to make so many calls. You've got to get that in your head that it's going to be so many no's before there's yeses.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about just the whole industry of how it's changed over the years, because now, in the booking world, but also I think in any kind of part of the music business, they would put so much pressure on the artist to already make themselves popular on social media before they'll even look at them.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, because
is
it's
that-
true. It's like,
I mean, numbers
well,
do make an
clubs-
impact. However, streaming numbers are coming back to being more important. Thank God.
Okay.
But that's honestly because of the 3 big ones. They went and signed a whole bunch of TikTok influencers, and they realized that they have made these deals with these artists, quotation marks there, who don't know how to perform. They don't know how to radio tour. They don't know how to do interviews.
No.
They know how to perfect 60 seconds
Right.
after a million takes.
But how do you do a whole
But
show?
they can't. They don't have the stamina to go on tour. They don't know how to talk to somebody.
But you know, even venues are like that. Venues are like, we want to know that you have so many followers because they're going to buy the tickets. And they, instead of advertising, you know, like themselves,
Right.
they're
but
putting
your
all the
social media
pressure.
numbers do not always translate to streaming numbers.
because they may not even be able or gonna go. They
And
could
some
be
are
in another,
bots.
and they could be somewhere
Yeah.
else. You know, they could be in Washington State and the concerts in Alabama. You know, it's just it doesn't translate, but in their mind it does, and so it's like they want your socials up
Yeah.
if they're gonna have you in or give you a chance.
They
And
definitely
I'm
do
like,
care about the
it has
socials. But
nothing to do with talent. Because I mean, some of the most talented, you know, artists, it's harder to get them in, you know, unless they're on a big tour.
I think that's slowly changing back, though.
I hope so.
Because it's gotten them in a rut where they've lost a lot of money having to do artist development
Yes.
with these artists and put them on the shelf.
Yes.
And so I think they've realized their big mistake.
Yeah.
And they're
I hope so.
looking back at streaming.
sure.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a couple of buddies that are ruling the roost downtown. And every time I talk with them, they're in the middle of it. One of them's played on over 100 #1 records. And they're telling me, we can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say to some young people who are, and April and I have, you know, been digging around, and we've worked with some extremely gifted. And the thing is, you just can't give up.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I'm the perfect example. I came here with nothing. I grew up with nothing. I just refused to give up. I mean, I went through a period in my life early on that you know, my first wife left me, got my car repossessed, and I got evicted from my apartment. All that happened in less than 40 days.
Ooh.
And I was borderline alcoholic, but I had a friend that loved me and cared about me, and his name is Noel Roy. And he became Lloyd's guitar player because we had a friendship, and he cared enough about me to get me out and get me to living again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a bass when I auditioned for Lloyd. I had to borrow one.
Wow.
So I mean, I've been
Say
there.
that again for the people in the back.
Well, I had to
Didn't
borrow.
even
I had
have
to,
a bass.
I didn't. I had to borrow a Music Man Stingray to go out because that was my favorite bass, and a buddy had one. He was happy to loan it to me for a period of time. I went and the night I auditioned for Lloyd, I was the only guy she hired that night.
Wow.
And I mean, you just have to have, and Anna will tell you from working with artists in April, and you too, Cindy, from being around, you just got to have the no quit, no die attitude.
Yeah.
If you're going to come here and say, well, you know, if I don't make, and I've had buddies in the past
Put a time limit on it.
go, oh, well, you know, if I don't have a record deal in 6 months, I'm just going to go home. Well, you know
We
what?
used to
Don't
say
even,
it's a 7-year town.
don't
but
even-
Now it's up
don't
to 10.
even-
Oh.
It's a 10-year town.
don't even come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when I came here and I went through all that crap. I remember calling my mom and just being a wreck. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a job. I don't even have a base.
Yeah.
I have a place to live. She said, well, just come home and everything will be okay. And I was like, no. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, Mom, but I'm going to put down roots and I'm going to stay here. And I did. And it worked out well for me. I hadn't got rich doing this, but I have lived a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just all speak to the fact that good people rise to the top, and
Yeah.
eventually, like
Yes.
it may not happen right away, but keep a good attitude and just stay sweet, because nobody wants to work with somebody that's hard.
The attitude
You
is
know?
everything.
And a lot of
Well, and one of the biggest things I tell people is to get out there and make friends, make connections.
Yeah.
This is
Network.
It is a people relationship
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
That's how you met your friend. You got that gig through your friend. Like, it's all about your connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go play those songwriting rounds. You go to all the artists or
Be the
songwriting
roadie.
events.
Be the roadie.
Yeah, be the
yes.
roadie. Be around all. Make connections. Go
Yeah.
to Whiskey Jam if you're in Nashville.
Yeah.
Like all, I can start spewing out the local ones that we
Yeah.
do here. But going to all those events and speaking with people, like there's tons of publishers there.
Yeah.
There's the creatives are there. Managers are there when they're supporting their acts, but they'll
Yeah.
still talk to people and having
Yeah.
those connections.
Yeah.
That's all what it's about. That's how the doors open for you.
We only had when I came here, we only had the Stockyard, the Bullpen Lounge at
Yeah.
the Stockyard restaurant because Broadway was dead as we know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Well,
we went-
Broadway, we still all avoid Broadway.
I know, but
Except for
back
Whiskey Jam
then,
now.
nobody
Yeah.
even wanted to be down there.
Right.
It basically became Skid Row, and
Yeah.
back then we could have bought a half a city block for $500,000
Wow.
Yeah.
if we had known.
Yeah.
Broadway's a good rehearsal studio for.
Yeah.
That's
It
a
is.
lot of the players.
It
just
is.
But the
go
number
there
one
and
thing
put
when I
hours in.
moved that they told me was to network, and it's
Yeah.
probably changed my career
Without a
because
doubt.
of that. Because I love people, and
Yeah.
I just met people and kept meeting people, and
You know, Anna B, that's probably true. Like we used to have Opryland, but now if you could just get in and just do grunt work in Broadway, you kind of figure out. I don't know that anybody.
it's
in
not
the
a good
business-
showcase, but it's a good practice.
Yeah.
And like that's how you'll get tight with your. If it's a band, that's how you're gonna get really tight with your band.
Yeah.
That's how you're gonna work. But also, I've seen where artists work it too much,
Mm-hmm.
and they aren't able to put time into their career and focusing on going to specific things
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that will further their career.
Yeah.
And they're spending too much time perfecting on Broadway and making the good money.
Yeah.
Because it's easy money.
Yeah.
It's just really hard on
But
your
the
vocals.
business
It's hard
people
on your
don't go
energy.
down there to vet.
No, they
people
do
out.
not.
No.
So you can't go there for that. You can go there to practice,
Yeah.
but you
Right.
cannot go there to make
Yeah.
connections.
Right.
It's easy to burn out down there
Yes,
too
it
because
is.
of the
It's so
shifts.
long.
You don't get
Yeah.
you don't get a break anymore like
4
we
and
used to.
5
We'd play
hours.
Yeah.
play 40 minutes, you get a 20-minute break. When I came to town, now it's you.
It's
When
4
you-
hours,
when
and you're
you-
lucky if you can go pee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if your lead singer is willing to do an acoustic song, they'll let
Yeah.
the band go pee.
Yeah.
You're
that.
it's
I
like
laugh when
It's
it's
true.
sad.
you can.
That's the real world of touring.
Yes.
I mean of the business.
Broadway.
Of Broadway for sure. Well, this has been amazing, you guys, and we have loved every second of it. Hopefully, you guys have loved it too. We'll have these two people connect. You can connect with them on our social media sites. And thank you for being here today. We love you so much. God bless you. And what'd your mom say? Make good choices.
Make your choices.
Bye bye. Get it together, y'all.